Staff Sergeant Travis Reed, and today I'm going to go over with you how to fill out the DD 2656, which is simply your retirement application form. This is a two-part form, so this video will seem a little bit longer. However, it is worth your time.
In Section 1, Pay Identification, you have Block 1, Name. This is in last name, first name, middle initial format. So for me it would be Reed, Travis, space J. The next block, moving to the right, is SSN, which is simply your social security number, with or without dashes. The next block is Block 3, Retirement/Transfer Date. This will be the same date that you put on the DD Form 108, which will be the date you turn 60 or the RPED date, Retirement Pay Eligibility Date. In Block 4 to the right, you have Rank Pay Grade. This will be, for myself, Staff Sergeant, which is SSG/E6. The next space to the right is Date of Birth, and that is year, month, day format. Back to the left, you have 6, correspondence address. Again, this will be wherever you receive your mail, be it a physical address or a P.O. box. So in 6A, you have street or P.O. box. 6B, you have the city. 6C, you have the state, which is abbreviated. 6D, you have the zip code. And 6E, you have the telephone number. Ensure that you put your area code. In Section 2, you have direct deposit/electronic fund transfer information. So in Section 2.7, you have your routing number. Every routing number will have 9 digits. Ensure that you have 9 digits in your routing number. Moving to the right, you have Block 8, Type of Account. This will be checking or savings. If you decide to use a money market account, put S for savings. Moving over to the right, you have 9, Account Number. This will be simply your account number. Ensure that you use all the numbers and double check your work. Going back to the left, you have the financial institution in number 10. So 10A is the financial institution name. I use State Employees Credit Union, so I will use SECU as the abbreviation. 10B is the street address. 10C, the city. 10D, the state, again abbreviated. And 10E, the zip code. In Section 3, you have separation payment information. This information is simply in the form of a yes or no answer, and depending on your answer will determine if you have to put anything in Block B and C. So in Section 3, separation payment information, 11A, the question is this: did you receive severance pay, readjustment pay, separation pay, voluntary separation incentives, or special separation bonuses? If you did not, you will put an X in the no block, and you will not have to fill out B or C, type of payment and gross amount. If you did receive this payment, you will put an X in the yes block. You'll put in Block B the type of payment by the abbreviated format. So if it is a severance pay, it will be SE. If it was a readjustment pay, it will be RP. If it was a separation pay, it will be SP. If it was a voluntary separation incentive, you will put VSI. And if it was special separation bonus, it will be SSB. In Block C, you will put the gross amount that you received. If you're unaware of the amount, you can simply look on your NGB 22 or your DD 214 in which you received the pay for, and you will find it in your remarks section. Section 4, member of the reserve component, 12A, is also a yes or no question. Depending on the answer of question 12A will determine if you put anything in 12B and 12C. So the question is, do you receive or were you receiving on the date of retirement any VA compensation for disability? If not, you will put an X in the block beside no. You will not put anything in 12B or 12C. If you put an X beside yes, you will put in a date of effective date of payment in block B in year, month, day format, and you will put the money amount of which the payment was that you received. You will find this information on the letter that you received from the VA. It shall have a dollar amount and a date. It will also have percentages somewhere on the forms. You will need to attach a copy of this VA letter to the back of this form for your application process. Please ensure that you answer these questions correctly to the best of your knowledge to ensure that there's no issues in processing your retirement pension. Moving on to Section 5, Designation of Beneficiary for Unpaid Retired Pay. This information is for who you would like to receive your last paycheck. In the event you pass away during the middle of a pay period, i.e. you get paid once a month. If you pass away 2 weeks into a month, who would you like to receive that unpaid 2 weeks pay that is due? In 13A, it will be last name, first name, middle initial. 13B, their social security number. 13C, the address. In 13C, this can also be a physical address if they receive mail at the house or a P.O. box. Normally what I will do is I will put in the P.O. box or the street address in the top block of C, and then the next line below it I will put in the city, state, and zip to ensure that I have plenty of room for all of the information. In 13D, you will put the relationship, whether it be son, daughter, husband, wife, or friend. In 13E, you will put the share amount. Because of the amount of this check and the fact that it is a one-time payment, I would recommend doing 100% to whoever the recipient is. However, in the event you do want to break the check up, you can put the percentage of whatever percent you want it to be, and you can list multiple recipients. You will need the same information for each recipient, and at the end of listing your recipients, the total has to equal 100%. Section 6 and 7 is tax information, and we do not fill it out. However, if you desire to fill out additional tax information and voluntary state tax withholding information, you can see the instructions for the DD 2656 and do it at your own leisure. We will fill out in Section 6, 14, which is marital status, and you will put an X beside single or an X beside married. Then you will skip over to 18 of Section 6. Are you a United States citizen? Put an X in yes for yes, and if no, again, see instructions on the DD 2656. Section 7, again, is voluntary state tax withholding information, and you can fill this out at your leisure. Please see the instructions on the 2656. Section 8 is dependency information. This is your spouse's information if you're married. If you mark single in block 6, you can skip this section of the form. Spouse's information will be name in last name, first name, middle initial format. 22B will be the social security number. 22C will be the date of birth in year, month, day format. 23 will be the date of marriage in year, month, day format. And 24 will be the place of marriage. The place of marriage is simply city and state. The spouse's information and the designation of beneficiaries for unpaid allowances from Section 5 may be the same. This is okay. In Section 825, dependent children, you will list children that are still minors. That means they are under the age of 18 or they are under the age of 23 if they are in college. Their information will be name in 25A by last name, first name, middle initial format, date of birth in 25B in year, month, day format, social security number in 25C, relationship in 25D, and that will be son, daughter, stepson, stepdaughter. If the child is from a former spouse, beside relationship, in parentheses, put FS. 25E, if they are disabled, simply write yes or no. That completes the first form of the 2656. We will now fill out the second page of the DD Form 2656. At the top you have member name. If you're doing this in an Adobe form, it will already be generated from the previous form. If not, you will fill it out by last name, first name, middle initial format. And to the right, the social, which will also be auto-populated if you're doing this in an Adobe format. But again, if not, full social with or without dashes. Section 9 is Survivors Benefit Plan Election, or SBP. In the event that you already have RC-SBP coverage, the election that you had for that coverage is the same election that will continue through age 60 up to the point of your death. However, this section is in the event you did not make an election for RC-SBP or the election was not automatically made for you, i.e., you were not married and did not have children. You would make an election at this time if your status has changed. In the event you no longer want coverage, you will be able to do a drop from enrollment at the 24 to 36 month mark from the time you start drawing your retired pay. Once you elect a drop from enrollment, you forfeit any future opportunities to have coverage for children or spouses in the future. This is where you will elect who you would like to have coverage and the coverage amount. In Section 926 Beneficiary category, you have options A through G. The retiree is eligible to make whatever decision they desire. However, if you are married, your spouse will have to sign if you elect not to have coverage. So, option 26A, I elect coverage for spouse only. If you do not want to carry coverage on your children, or your children have already aged out, you can make this election. You will put an X beside the A to the left, and then you will put an X to the right beside whichever applies. An X here for I do have dependent children, or an X in the last block for I do not have dependent children. Your children do not have to be aged out for you to make this election. You can have dependent children and still elect spouse only. Option B, I elect coverage for spouse and children. In the event your children are young enough to where you feel like the coverage would be beneficial for your spouse and your children, put an X beside B. 26C, I elect coverage for children only. In the event you have children, however you are divorced or widowed, you will put an X beside C. Then you will put an X to the right beside I do or I do not have a spouse. If you do have a spouse, again your spouse will have to sign saying that they are aware of this decision. If you do not have a spouse, you will put an X beside do not have a spouse. 26D would be I elect coverage for the person named in item 28 who has an insurable interest in me. For example, possibly a business partner. For 26D, you would need to see the instructions for the DD 2656. In 26E, I elect coverage for my former spouse. If you were previously married and you still want your former spouse to have coverage, you will put an X besides 26E. You will need to see the instructions and also complete a DD 2656-1 Survivors Benefit Plan Election Statement for former spouse coverage. In 26F, I elect coverage for my former spouse and dependent children of that marriage. Again, if you have a former spouse and you still want coverage on them and the dependent children as well, you'll put an X besides 26F. And again, you will need to see instructions and complete a DD 2656-1. 26G is I elect not to participate in SBP. If you make this election, you would put an X beside G, and again, if you're married, your spouse will have to sign saying that they are aware of this decision. Then, moving to the right, you will put the X in the appropriate block, an X beside I do, if I do have eligible dependent under this plan, or an X beside I do not, if you do not have eligible dependents under this plan. Section 927, level of coverage. Level of coverage, you have 4 options, A, B, C, and D. 27A is I elect coverage based on full gross pay. You will put an X beside the A. 27B, I elect coverage with a reduced base amount of, and you will put a dollar amount in this blank. If this is the option you desire, please see the instructions in the DD 2656. On 27, level of coverage C, Redux members only, I elect coverage based on my full gross pay under Redux. I understand that this represents a reduced base amount and requires spouse concurrence. If you would like to choose that option, please see the instructions in the DD 2656. In 27D, I elect coverage based on the threshold amount in effect on the date of retirement. If you would like to choose that option, please see the instructions in the DD 2656. In Section 928, Insurable Interest Beneficiary, again, this would be an example of a business partner. If you have an insurable interest, please see the instructions on the 2656 and fill out the following accordingly. In 28A, last name, first name, middle initial format. 28B, the social security number of the insurable interest. 28C, the relationship. 28D, date of birth in year, month, day form. 28E, the street address. 28F, city. 28G, state that will be abbreviated. And 28H, zip code. Moving on to Section 10, remarks. Section 1029, use this section to continue any items or make additional comments. For example, if you had more dependents under children dependents, you would put their additional information here. Section 11, certification. This will be the retiree signature in 30A and the date in 30B in year, month, day format. At this time, you will need to get everything witnessed by a North Carolina National Guard member or a VA representative. They will fill their information out in Section 1131. Witness's name in 31A, last name, first name, middle initial format. Witness's signature in 31B, the date they witnessed in 31C, year, month, day format. In 31D, the unit or organization address that they represent. In 31E, the city or base in which they represent. In 31F, the state, again abbreviated. In 31G, the zip code. That will be everything that needs to be filled out in the DD 2656 in the event you elected to have full coverage on your spouse. However, if you did not elect full coverage on your spouse, they will need to sign and date. They will not do this until they are in front of a notary witness, at which time the notary will fill out their notary information. They will witness your spouse signing and the spouse dating in year, month, day format, and then they will put their notary seal on the form, at which time the DD Form 26566 is complete and is ready to be forwarded to U.S. Army Human Resources Command.
That covers it for the DD 2656. Please feel free to review the additional videos for applying for your federal and, if you're eligible, state pension applications. Again, I'm Staff Sergeant Travis Reed with the RSO, where we live to serve and we serve to live. Thank you.